Let me start with a statement that many people won't like to hear. Working harder doesn't mean winning more. In fact, it often means the exact opposite. While millions of people live trapped in the daily rush, waking up early, rushing from task to task, ending the day exhausted, they believe that this constant effort is the inevitable path to success. But history shows something completely different. The greatest strategists, leaders, and thinkers who truly shaped the world were rarely the busiest people in the room. They were the most precise. Machiavelli observed this while studying rulers and power struggles. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires a coldness to see something that almost no one admits. Most people work too much and think too little. Now think honestly for a moment. How many times have you finished the day completely exhausted, but with the strange feeling that you haven't progressed as much as you should have? How many times have you spent hours busy solving small things, answering messages, putting out fires, but without really moving the game of your life forward? This happens because the modern world has taught a very seductive lie, that productivity is synonymous with constant movement. But Machiavelli understood something much deeper about decisions based on real human nature. True power is born from the ability to choose where to put energy, and especially where not to put it. In this video, you'll discover why working less can, paradoxically, generate far greater results. We'll explore stories from ancient Rome, strategies from feudal Japan, principles used by professional poker players, and psychological concepts that explain how the human brain actually makes decisions. All of this reveals a powerful pattern. Those who master the game of life learn to act with calculated use of force. It's not laziness, it's not procrastination, it's strategy. And when you begin to understand this principle, you realize something that completely changes the way you live and work. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. There's a very popular idea nowadays that looks good on Instagram, but in practice is destroying the strategic capacity of many people, the glorification of rushing, the culture of always being busy. Working to exhaustion has become almost a modern trophy. People proudly say, "I don't have time for anything, I'm always running around," as if exhaustion were proof of worth. But those who observe human behavior coldly, as Machiavelli did when analyzing leaders and rulers, notice something curious. Extremely busy people are rarely in real control of the game. They are reacting, they are playing catch-up, they are trying to put out fires. This is the exact opposite of politics guided by reality, not by ideals. Because in the concrete reality of power, the winner is not the one who moves the most. It's the one who moves the right pieces at the right time. Think of something simple. Imagine two people trying to solve a financial problem. The first works 14 hours a day, answers messages constantly, chases after 1,000 tasks, attends 10 useless meetings, and lives exhausted. The second stops, observes, analyzes, chooses only 2 or 3 actions that truly change the outcome. Who do you think will likely go further? The history of human power is full of such examples. Generals, businessmen, political leaders, those who truly master the game understand something that most ignore. Virtù and fortuna favor those who think before acting. The modern world has taught that quantity of effort generates results. But history teaches something else. Decisions based on real human nature produce far greater results than disordered effort. Now consider the psychological trap in all of this. The human brain loves the feeling of productivity. Checking off tasks, answering messages, attending meetings, feeling busy gives a momentary sense of progress, but often it's just a theater of productivity. A daily performance that creates the appearance of virtue. It looks like discipline, it looks like effort, it looks like dedication, but it doesn't necessarily generate real progress. And here begins a question that bothers many people. What if working more isn't the right strategy? What if true power lies in acting less, but with almost surgical precision? It is precisely at this point that a much more dangerous and much more powerful idea begins to emerge. There's a curious thing about strategy that almost no one teaches. Most people believe that doing more means advancing more. It seems logical, but it's not necessarily true. Those who have deeply studied human behavior, and here again comes Machiavelli's cold vision, realize that power often lies precisely in what is not done. This sounds strange at first because we have been conditioned from an early age to believe that constant action is a sign of progress. But those who understand politics guided by reality, not by ideals, know that excessive action usually reveals something else: anxiety, insecurity, and lack of direction. The true strategist doesn't run. He chooses when to enter the game. Consider a simple real-world example. Imagine two novice investors in the stock market. One buys and sells stocks all the time. Today he buys Petrobras. Tomorrow he sells everything to buy Tesla, then switches to cryptocurrencies, then back to fixed income. He's always doing something, always moving, always busy. The other investor does something much less exciting. He studies solid companies, chooses a few positions, and simply waits. While one lives in the adrenaline of constant action, the other practices a silent form of power. This reflects something Machiavelli understood deeply. The calculated use of force means knowing exactly when to act, and especially when not to act. Because acting imprecisely wastes energy, and strategic energy is a limited resource. This type of control requires something rare nowadays: strategic patience. It's the ability to observe the board while others run aimlessly. Those who master this develop what Machiavelli would call their own loyal armies, not necessarily soldiers, but internal resources, mental clarity, self-control, emotional discipline. And these qualities allow for something very powerful: waiting for the right moment. The curious thing is that many of history's greatest victories were born precisely from this seemingly passive stance. Not acting may seem like weakness to an outside observer, but often it's just silent preparation. And there's a historical episode that illustrates this almost brutally, a story in which the refusal to act immediately saved an entire civilization. There's an episode in history that seems almost like a living strategy manual. In 216 BC, Rome faced one of history's greatest military geniuses, Hannibal. He had crossed the Alps with elephants, defeated several Roman armies, and was practically humiliating Roman power in open battle. Rome's pride demanded an immediate response. The generals wanted to fight. They wanted to confront Hannibal directly and recover their lost honor. But a man emerged who thought completely differently. His name was Fabius Maximus. While everyone demanded battle, he made a decision that seemed cowardly to many Romans: not to fight. He understood something fundamental about decisions based on real human nature. When an enemy is stronger at that moment, the worst possible strategy is to attack them head-on. Fabio began to apply something that later became known as the strategy of the delayer. Instead of confronting Hannibal directly, he avoided decisive battles. He attacked small units, cut off supplies, and slowly wore down the enemy army. While Rome wanted a quick victory, He chose something far more difficult: strategic patience. This was the calculated use of force in its purest form. Hannibal was brilliant in open battle, but he couldn't fight an enemy who simply refused to play that game. Gradually, time began to work against him. The Carthaginian army was far from home, dependent on limited resources, and needed quick victories to maintain morale. By denying this direct battle, Fabio was practicing a silent form of power, a living application of the principle of virtu and fortuna, creating conditions for time to work in his favor. The most curious thing is that Fabius was harshly criticized while applying this strategy. Many Romans called him a coward. They said he was destroying Rome's honor. This shows something interesting about leadership and strategy. Many correct decisions seem wrong in the short term. The crowd wants immediate action. They want spectacle. They want movement. But those who understand politics guided by reality, not by ideals, know that haste often destroys empires. Fabius was willing to endure criticism because he understood something that few understood. True victory does not always come from the most intense battle, but from the ability to choose which battle is worth fighting. And this story opens a very important reflection on the modern world, because many people today are fighting battles that should never have started. There's a very common mistake that almost everyone makes at some point in their lives: confusing effort with effectiveness. They seem the same, but they're not. Effort is noise, constant movement, energy being spent in several directions at the same time. Precision, on the other hand, is silence. It's concentrated focus on a few movements that truly change the outcome. Machiavelli understood this when analyzing leaders and rulers. Power has never been about doing a lot, but about making the right move. Anyone who observes human behavior objectively notices this quickly. Many people spend the entire day busy and yet end the day in exactly the same place. This happens because the human brain likes to feel productive, marking tasks as completed, responding to messages, participating in meetings. All of this generates a feeling of progress. But often it's just the appearance of virtue. Imagine a simple example. Two people want to improve their financial lives. One of them spends the entire day chasing after small tasks, answering unimportant emails, attending unnecessary meetings, trying to start 10 different projects. At the end of the month, they worked hard but didn't get anywhere. The other person chooses 3 things that truly have an impact. Perhaps studying a specific market, developing a high-value skill, or creating a single well-structured project. This difference seems small, but it represents something profound: decisions based on real human nature. The world doesn't reward those who work the hardest. It rewards those who generate the most impact. And impact almost always stems from precision, not volume of work. This logic appears in various areas of life. A surgeon doesn't make 100 random movements during an operation. He makes a few extremely precise movements. A chess player doesn't move all the pieces at once. He chooses the right piece at the right time. An experienced investor doesn't buy every possible asset. He chooses a few opportunities where virtu and fortuna can work in his favor. This is calculated use of force applied to real life. And when someone begins to understand this difference between effort and precision, something completely changes in their way of acting. The person realizes that perhaps the problem was never a lack of work. Perhaps it was an excess of movement without direction. And this realization naturally leads to another fascinating story about strategy and patience, a story that happened centuries later in feudal Japan. There's a story in feudal Japan that seems almost like a living laboratory on strategy, patience, and power. During the period of Japanese unification, 3 great leaders marked history: Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Each of them represented a different type of strategy. Nobunaga was brute force, aggressive, innovative, and ruthless on the battlefield. Hideyoshi was strategic diplomacy, a master of alliances, negotiation, and political manipulation. But Tokugawa was something completely different. He represented patience. While the others advanced rapidly, conquering territories and accumulating victories, Tokugawa observed. He waited. He conserved his strength. Many saw this as weakness. But those who understand politics guided by reality, not ideals, realize that sometimes the greatest demonstration of power is precisely not engaging in every battle. Tokugawa understood something few leaders grasp. The game doesn't end with the initial victory. Many gain power, but few manage to maintain it. He carefully studied human behavior, something very close to the decisions based on real human nature, described by Machiavelli centuries later. Nobunaga conquered much territory, but died betrayed. Hideyoshi came close to dominating Japan, but his power did not survive his death. Tokugawa did something different. He accumulated alliances, built resources quietly, and waited for the right moment. When the opportunity arose, he acted with calculated use of force. It wasn't the quickest victory, but it was the most definitive, and the result of this strategic patience was impressive. After winning the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600, Tokugawa established the shogunate that would rule Japan for over 260 years. Think about that for a second. 2.5 centuries of political stability arose, not from haste, not from impulsive conquests, but from strategic discipline and patience. This shows something that many people ignore today. Virtù and fortuna favor those who know how to wait, while others exhaust themselves. The curious thing is that this same logic appears in completely different areas of modern life. There is a principle used by great decision makers, including in high-stakes games like poker, that takes this idea of strategic patience to an even more extreme level. There's a fascinating lesson from professional poker that applies perfectly to real life. In poker, beginner players believe the secret lies in playing many hands. They want to participate in everything, enter every round, contest every pot. But professionals do the exact opposite. Annie Duke, one of the most respected players in poker history, explains something that seems counterintuitive. Most wins in the game come from the ability not to play. On average, a good player participates in only a small fraction of the hands dealt. They check, fold, wait, repeatedly. This requires emotional discipline and strategic clarity, because anyone who understands politics guided by reality, not ideals, knows that entering every game doesn't demonstrate courage. It demonstrates a lack of strategy. The discipline of folding is exactly that, saying no almost all the time. Imagine sitting at a poker table for 3 hours and playing only a few specific hands. It sounds strange, but that's how the best players conserve energy, chips, and mental clarity. They know that virtù and fortuna appear in rare moments. The true skill lies in recognizing those moments when they arise. This principle also works outside of cards. Think of someone who receives dozens of business, project, or partnership opportunities. An immature strategist accepts almost everything, trying to multiply chances. But someone who understands decisions based on real human nature knows that each yes consumes resources, time, energy, attention. That's why they practice something powerful, choosing a few extremely strategic yeses. In practice, this discipline can be applied to various areas of life. An entrepreneur, for example, might decide to focus on only one truly scalable project instead of opening 5 different fronts simultaneously. A student might choose to deeply master a specific field instead of superficially studying 10 different areas. An investor might ignore hundreds of opportunities to concentrate capital on a few well-studied bets. This is the true calculated use of force. It's not about acting more, It's about conserving energy until the right moment arrives. And when that moment comes, the impact is enormous. Interestingly, this type of discipline also requires something that Machiavelli highly valued: eliminating everything that does not serve the ultimate goal. There's a silent principle that always appears when we observe highly competent people in any field. They make fewer moves than beginners. At first, this seems strange. Those who are learning generally make more effort, more attempts, more corrections. But those who master the game do only what is necessary, not a single extra gesture. This principle is known as economy of movement, and although it appears frequently in the art of war, medicine, or sports, it is also deeply aligned with Machiavelli's strategic vision. Those who understand politics guided by reality, not by ideals, understand that every action has a cost. Time, energy, attention, reputation, all of this is spent when you act. Therefore, the strategist does not seek constant movement. He seeks strategic efficiency. Think of an experienced surgeon during a delicate operation. He doesn't make abrupt movements. He doesn't improvise unnecessary gestures. Every action has a clear intention. Every cut exists for a specific reason. This is calculated use of force applied with surgical precision. Now compare this to someone inexperienced trying to solve a complex problem. The person changes strategy every moment, tries several solutions at the same time, panics when something doesn't work quickly. This behavior generates exactly the opposite of economy of movement, strategic waste. The curious thing is that many people live like this daily. They respond to everything, get involved in every discussion, accept every demand. It seems like dedication, but often it's just the appearance of virtue. Those who begin to apply this principle to their lives undergo a silent transformation. They start eliminating tasks that don't move the game forward. They cancel useless meetings. They ignore discussions that lead nowhere. They drastically reduce the number of trivial decisions. This creates something extremely valuable: preserved mental energy for what truly matters. And this connects directly to something few realize. The human brain has a real limit to the number of decisions it can make well throughout the day. When this limit is exceeded, the quality of choices begins to decline rapidly. That's where a phenomenon widely studied in psychology and neuroscience emerges: decision fatigue. There's an invisible limit within the human mind that few people consider. Every decision you make throughout the day consumes a small amount of mental energy. It seems insignificant at first: choosing what to wear, replying to a message, deciding what to eat, reviewing an email, solving a minor problem. But over hours and hours, these micro-decisions begin to drain something extremely valuable: your judgment. This phenomenon is known as decision fatigue, and it reveals something very interesting about decisions based on real human nature. The human brain wasn't designed to make hundreds of decisions a day with the same quality. At some point, it starts conserving energy, and that means worse decisions. Researchers have observed this effect in various fields. A classic example involves judges reviewing parole requests. At the beginning of the day, when the mind is still fresh, the likelihood of balanced and fair decisions is higher. But as the day progresses and the brain accumulates decisions, judgments begin to change drastically. Many judges begin to deny requests more frequently simply because their minds are tired. This is not malice. It's biology. And when someone understands this, they begin to understand why strategically intelligent people try to minimize unnecessary decisions. This is the calculated use of force applied to the mind. That's why many leaders, entrepreneurs, and strategists create systems to preserve cognitive energy. Steve Jobs wore practically the same type of clothes every day. Mark Zuckerberg adopted a similar strategy. It wasn't style, it was mental economy. The fewer trivial decisions you have to make, the more energy is left for truly important decisions. This principle also appears in Machiavelli's strategic vision. Those who wish to exercise power need to preserve clarity of judgment. This requires discipline and constant adaptability, and when someone begins to reduce the mental noise of daily life, something curious happens. Space emerges, space to think, reflect, observe patterns. And there is a Japanese philosophy that transforms precisely this empty space into something extremely powerful. There's an idea in Japanese culture that seems simple at first glance, but carries an impressive depth. This idea is called ma. The word can be translated as space, interval, or meaningful pause. It's not just the emptiness between two things, it's the space that gives shape and meaning to what exists around it. Think of a piece of music. If all the notes were played without pause, the result would be just noise. What transforms sounds into music are the silences between the notes. In Japanese architecture, empty spaces are as important as walls. In life strategy, something similar happens. Those who live in constant motion rarely see the board clearly, but those who understand politics guided by reality, not by ideals, learn to value something that the modern world has almost forgotten: the strategic pause. In today's world, there's an almost invisible pressure to always be doing something, always responding, always producing, always reacting. But those who observe decisions based on real human nature realize that clarity rarely arises in the midst of the rush. It emerges in the intervals, during a quiet walk, during a moment of silence, during that instant when the mind finally slows down. Many famous strategists deliberately cultivated these spaces. Charles Darwin walked for hours daily to think. Warren Buffett spends a good part of his day just reading and reflecting. This is not laziness. It's the calculated use of force applied to thought. When someone begins to incorporate the concept of ma into their life, something changes in the way they make decisions. Instead of reacting immediately to everything, the person creates space to observe. They wait before responding. They analyze before acting. This strengthens something essential for any strategist: discernment. It is in this mental space that virtù and fortuna begin to work together. Because opportunities rarely appear for those who are too busy to notice them. The curious thing is that when you start creating these spaces, something else becomes evident. Many of the activities that occupy your time are simply not necessary. And it is at this moment that a powerful question arises, perhaps the most strategic question of all. At some point in their journey, every strategist needs to do something few people have the courage to do: stop and audit their own life. Not in the bureaucratic sense of the word, but in the strategic sense. To coldly observe what is truly generating results and what is merely empty movement. This exercise demands brutal honesty because many of the activities that occupy our hours seem important, but in practice are just automatic habits. Answering everything, participating in every conversation, trying to keep up with every opportunity. When someone looks at this through the lens of politics guided by reality, not by ideals, they begin to perceive something uncomfortable. A large part of the daily routine is merely the appearance of virtue. It looks like effort, it looks like discipline, it looks like progress, but it doesn't move the game. A strategic audit begins with simple yet powerful questions. What activities would truly change my life if I did them every day for a year? What generates real leverage? For example, someone who wants to grow financially might realize that studying a specific field in depth, such as technology, investments, or digital business, generates far more impact than consuming random content all day. A professional might discover that developing a rare skill, such as negotiation, programming, persuasive communication, or strategic analysis, creates opportunities that decades of ordinary work wouldn't. This is applying decisions based on real human nature to one's own life. identifying the central leverager and protecting that space with discipline. When this clarity appears, something inevitable happens. Many things need to be eliminated. Side projects that lead nowhere. Commitments that drain energy, conversations that add nothing. This requires courage because it means saying no frequently. But that's exactly where a silent principle of power that Machiavelli deeply understood comes in: the calculated use of force, directing resources only to what truly matters. By doing this, you begin to build your own loyal armies, habits, knowledge, discipline, and mental clarity. And when these elements begin to work together, virtù and fortuna walk hand in hand. At that point, the person stops reacting to the world and begins to shape their own game. Now stop for a moment and think honestly. How many of the things that occupy your day truly move your life forward? How many are strategic decisions? And how many are just noise? Most people live reacting to the world, chasing tasks, trying to keep up with everything at once. But those who truly begin to win understand something that few have the courage to apply. Less movement can mean much more power. When you start eliminating what doesn't matter, conserving mental energy, and acting only where there is real impact, something profoundly changes in how the game of life responds to you. This is the calculated use of force applied to one's own existence. Perhaps the most important question now is this: what is the true lever in your life? That single skill, project, or direction that, if you develop it deeply in the coming years, could completely transform your future. It could be a professional skill, a business, a field of study, a rare ability. Most people never discover this because they are too busy trying to do everything at once. But those who apply decisions based on real human nature understand that true progress is born from strategic focus. And when you start acting this way, something interesting happens. Virtù and fortuna begin to work together. So I want to leave you with a few questions. If you eliminated half of the activities that occupy your time today, what would really be left? What would you keep if you were forced to choose only 3 real priorities? And more importantly, are you living according to a strategy or just reacting to the rhythm of the world around you? Write in the comments what the strongest insight you had while watching this video was. I want to know what made you think differently. If this type of strategic thinking resonates with you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because here, we explore ideas that are rarely taught. Strategies about power, human behavior, and reality-based decision-making. Ideas that can completely change the way you play the game of life.